Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, cha, bonjour, namaste, jumbo. Bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jed Lee. This is Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the beautiful, historical, book-loving neighborhood of Reedville, the loveliest little neighborhood in all of Boston. Our mission here at Reading with Your Kids is to help all families grow closer through reading, because I believe real magic happens when we share stories together. When a child sits down with a parent, grandparent, or teacher and opens a book, hearts connect, imaginations grow, and love shines brighter. We would love for you to help us grow our mission. Please tell all of your family and friends about the show and let them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, Amazon Music, Audible, CastBox, Player FM, YouTube. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. Really powerful episode today. First up, Dr. Lauren Hartman is here to celebrate her parenting guide. It's called Freeing Children and Young Adults from Shame, Scales, and Stigma. And later in the show, Bate Elangio is here to celebrate Joshua's Days of the Week. Hey, this episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by AspireDrinks.com. Hey, I have a quick question for you. Have you ever wanted a little extra energy, but not the kind that makes your heart race or leaves you crashing an hour later? Well, that's exactly why I want to tell you about Aspire Drinks. You'll find them at AspireDrinks.com. Aspire calls itself a healthy energy drink, and honestly, that description really fits. Instead of loading you up with sugar or extreme caffeine, Aspire delivers a gentle, steady boost with 80 milligrams of natural caffeine from green tea and guarana. That's about half the caffeine of most energy drinks, enough to help you stay focused without the jitters or the crash. It's also zero sugar, 0 calories, and 0 artificial additives, which makes it a great choice for parents, teachers, and anyone trying to make healthier choices while still getting things done. And get this, it actually tastes great, light, crisp, and lightly sparkling, with flavors like sweet cherry, raspberry acai, mango lemonade. That's what I love. No heavy aftertaste and easy on the stomach. Aspire is packed with B and C vitamins, biotin, and ginger. And it's vegan, gluten-free, keto-friendly, really designed for real life. And just for Reading with Your Kids listeners, you can get an exclusive discount of 20% off. That's the highest discount available when you shop at AspireDrinks.com and use our promo code READ. That's READ at AspireDrinks.com. Healthy energy done right.
Attention, this important consumer alert is brought to you by CBC Funding. Hey, did you know it's possible to receive upfront money from your structured settlement, annuity, or pending lawsuit? It's true. If you are receiving a structured settlement spread out over time and you want a lump sum amount delivered immediately, then you need to call CBC Funding. With your cash today, you can pay off credit card debt, pay medical bills, fund your education, or improve your home. You don't need to wait. Structured settlements are commonly used to resolve personal injury lawsuits. Annuities, they're designed to spread payments out over 10 or 20 years. For many of you in need of money today, this simply does not work. If you have a structured settlement and you want cash now, call CBC Settlement Funding. Here's the number.
800-442-0665. 800-442-0665. That's 800-442-0665.
Hey, my friends, you know one of my favorite parts of the day is story time. There's just something magical about snuggling up with your kids, opening a great book, and escaping into an adventure together. And let me tell you, that moment becomes even more magical when you're curled up in the softest, coziest bedding you've ever felt. That's why I'm so excited that CozyEarth.com is supporting Reading with Your Kids. Their bamboo sheets, comforters, and pajamas are unbelievably soft, naturally breathable, and temperature regulating, which means no more sweaty nights or chilly toes. Right now, Cozy Earth is offering Reading with Your Kids listeners an unbelievable and exclusive 41% off their entire site. That's right, you heard me right, 41% off. So go ahead, create your own cozy reading nook, wrap yourself and your kids up in something comfy, grab your favorite bedtime book, and turn story time into the best part of your day. Head on over to CozyEarth.com and use the promo code READ at checkout to save 41%. That's CozyEarth.com, promo code READ. Join us right now from beautiful California. Our guest is here today to talk to us about a really serious conversation. She's the author of Freeing Children and Young Adults from Shame, Scales, and Stigma. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Lauren Hartman. Hey, Dr. Lauren, how are you?
I am well. Thank you so much for having me today.
I'm delighted to have you. You know, I think I used to be so intimidated by doctors growing up, and now I get the chance to talk to so many doctors and scientists, and it really is a pleasure. You guys are just like people.
We are just like people. It's true. It's true. I love having these conversations. I will tell you, though, what I have learned, because my husband is also a doctor, and I've learned that we don't know that much else outside of our field. So I'm completely clueless about any other topic, but about medicine, we can hang.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited. You know, I mention that because I think there's a lot of people out there who are still intimidated by their doctors, and they don't ask the questions that they probably should be asking.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, I think that's actually one of the reasons why I wrote this book. You know, initially I was starting to write this book for doctors themselves, because I was seeing so many patients that were getting referred to me who had eating disorders, and they would have the same story, and they would say, well, my doctor told me to lose my weight, and my doctor said this. And for a young person with vulnerable ears and a vulnerable heart and soul who was hearing a lot of dieting messages, they took that message and then they started to restrict their intake, and then would result in having an eating disorder. Mm-hmm. But what I realized with parents is that parents can actually play a really important role in how they were modeling conversations about weight and body, and also how they were advocating for their kid with the doctor, and how to help their kid get more weight inclusive care and help their kid get care that is not going to be resulting in any harm. So I really just wanted this book to be very, very practical for the parent about, like, what's the email I could send to the doctor ahead of time? How do I have these conversations to the doctor if I'm worried about the last time the way they talked about weight or food around my kid? Yeah.
Boy, I got to tell you, Dr. Lauren, my daughter right now is a very healthy, very successful young woman, but and she was she was a great kid. I just loved raising her. But I have to tell you, there were times when I would watch every word that I would say to her, just because I didn't want to send her, you know, be saying something that might trigger something, you know, because I had heard, you know, parents helping to put a stigma around food on their kids, especially their young girls. And so I was always very careful to not, you know, say anything that I thought could trigger that.
It's so tricky. It's so tricky. I have so much compassion for parents, especially now, because they are getting so many mixed messages about health. You know, health is one of these words that is just being really misused often. And so I think parents who just want their kid to be safe and healthy and happy are trying to sift through these, quote, health messages. And I think we're just really just trying to figure out, what do I say? And so exactly to your point, I really wanted parents to feel like they could be armed with some scripts and tips about like, what do I say when my kid says this? What do I say when a kid says this? What do I say, especially as we're moving into the holidays? What do I say when grandma comes and grandma always mentions weight and always talks about people's bodies? Like, how do we protect our home from those sorts of messages? What's a message I could send to the family members ahead of time? So it's really just wanted families to get clearer in terms of sustaining health messages based on evidence, based on science, not based on diet culture, and just have tools to help them navigate it.
I'm trying to imagine in my mind what kind of message we would send to Grandma or Uncle Joe before the holidays, like, yo, keep your opinions outside. You don't got to be talking about my kid.
Yeah, I know. Well, it is tricky. And I mean, obviously the whole book is written based on things I hear in my office, right? Like these are things that come up over and over and over, or people feeling worried about like, grandma's going to come over and say this. And so, I think for parents to just feel like, oh, this is actually our home. It's okay for us to have some boundaries and to say, hey, by the way, we've realized that it is not helpful in our house to talk about people's bodies or weight. And so we're not focusing on that. Or, actually in our home, all foods fit. And so we're just really focusing on food for the purpose of nourishment and joy. And, we're moving our body here because it feels good, but not to burn off what we've just eaten and to just really have, I'm suggesting some things you can even put a little like in our home. We don't talk about calories, ways in which to just be like very clear and kind about the boundaries and give family members an explanation about why. Like we have found that this is just perpetuates this shame and perpetuates this stigma.
Yeah. Tell me, what are some of the things, the biggest challenges that young adults and teens are facing these days, other than social media and that and how does social media play into this?
Yeah. So, I think when we think about, diet culture, first of all, it's everywhere. It's really just so pervasive. And so they are swimming in it. We are all swimming in it. We are swimming in it when we access our doctors. Many of our doctors have been taught in a more traditional way, which was focused on weight. And there's many ways, especially for young people, that we realize can actually cause a lot of harm. The kids are swimming in it in terms of social media. And, you're just really trying to sift through those messages of what here is true. I think I feel for these young people because they're watching these influencers or watching these messages and thinking, oh, okay, so they have 1 million followers. The information they're telling me must be true or based on fact. And yet the person telling them these messages have no actual health training. So one of the things that I recommend to parents and recommend to my patients are helping our kids feel a little bit more armed with critical questions so that when they're seeing this crap, they're like, I don't know. Is this person being paid to give me this message? I don't know. Is that image actually photoshopped? And, have a little bit more of a critical lens rather than feeling so vulnerable to it all.
Yeah. Media literacy. When my daughter was, my son and daughter were both in middle school and high school, I was taking a media literacy class, and it just opened up my eyes as to how important it was for us to sit down and help our kids understand that the media they are consuming, it was created by somebody to deliver a message, to get them to do something, to get them to buy something or believe in something. And compared to what my kids were exposed to, my kids are now 29 and 32, compared to what the teenagers are exposed to now, I mean, the amount of information is just mind-boggling.
It's true. It's true. And it reminds me of, a couple years ago when vaping just became incredibly pervasive. And I was hearing like all these kids were vaping. And I was desperately trying to talk to young people about the dangers of it and the health complications of it. And I would start talking and I would see their eyes glaze over like, yeah, because these are kind of abstract risks for them, right? They weren't really feeling it. And then when I started to talk to them about, do you know that they're actually marketing to you? Like they are creating these flavors, mango, bubble gum, they're setting up shops around the high schools because they're trying to create lifelong vapors. And so, they're marketing to teens and suddenly these teens would be like, ew, I don't want to be a pawn, I don't think so. And so I'm really trying to talk to young people too about that with diet culture because it is much sneakier now. 15 years ago, we would hear things like, oh, diet, weight loss. Now it's a little bit more rebranded as wellness or longevity. And we have to be a little bit more critical in terms of some of these messages that are actually the same, but are sneakier. And so just, I think helping young people be a little bit more critical to your point of like, I don't know, I'm not sure if that information is actually true, can I think be really empowering for them.
Can we take a minute to define what you mean by diet culture, please?
Absolutely. So diet culture. So I guess how I would describe it better is maybe if we talk about what health is.
Sure.
Because I think health is, again, like I said, it's one of these words that I'm hearing all the time. And I'm like, well, I'm not sure that's health. So, when we think about like what real health is, it has to be, practices and behaviors that are supporting our energy, right? They're giving us energy. They're allowing us to rest, encouraging our bodies to rest. They're messages that are giving us, encouraging us to have a variety of foods and to not be so restricted of like only this food is the right food to be having. Ways in which we're managing our stress, ways in which we are connecting with friends and family. And so I would say if something that you're consuming is stripping you of those things or is actually leaving you without any energy, that would be more diet culture or restrictive behavior. Because I hear people all the time who will come in and say, I just want to be healthy. And what they do is they'll start cutting out their nutrition. They'll start like exercising twice a day. And then these young people come in to see me and they have fainted. The young girls have lost their period. The young boys have had multiple bone fractures. Their heart rate's in the 20s. They have no energy. And like, that's not health, right? So I think making sure that we are doing practices that are really sustaining and are really kind of getting down to the basics of like energy that is going to be sustaining and continuing to bring me joy. I was hearing a friend recently talking about GLP-1s, and saying how she and her husband had started on them and they're both physicians. And she said, Lauren, this is going to take over the healthcare, and was talking about, how GLP-1s are really just so healthy. And then I asked her, let me ask you, how do you feel like it is, how it's impacting your mealtime? Are you still enjoying food? Are you still feeling any joy with like the new food you're eating? And she was like, oh no, joy? No, I'm not feeling joy in my meals or in my life or in my sex life or really anything. And, I just sat there and I'm really trying to measure my tone because I get kind of passionate about these topics, but I was just feeling like, well, that can't be health. Like that cannot be health when we are talking about ways in which long term, like what we really do know about health, like joy has to be in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Boy, the whole thing about GLP-1s, the Ozempics and those things, they really scare me just because of the long term, when I hear, oh, great, you're going to lose weight, but you're also going to, that weight's going to be because you lost muscle.
Yes.
And I'm like, no way.
I know.
I'll do it the old fashioned way. Let me take a couple more laps around the track.
I know. And if I could tell you, prescriptions have increased 600% in children and young adults.
Oh my God.
And what I'll hear often from young people is they won't even have necessarily been suggested to take a GLP-1 from their doctor, but they are seeing it with their parents. And so they're hearing it amongst their parents, or they're seeing it in the fridge. And I'm hearing from patients like, I wasn't actually going to think about this, but then I realized my sister's taking it and maybe I should take it too. And so I think we just have to be, again, this was one of the reasons why I wrote this book of like, there's some ways in which as parents, we can just really model how we're talking about our bodies in a way that is like very respectful, that isn't going to pass along this message of like the body you're in, the body type you're in is not okay and you need to change it. And I worry that that is the message that kids are getting from the GLP-1s, is like that body size diversity is pathology rather than just natural variation of body size. Like nothing is wrong with you just because you're born in a bigger body.
Mm-hmm. I think part of the problem is that kids and adults are seeing these drugs advertised on TV. This is the only, the niece that I was talking to you about, who's before we hit record, is a semester away from graduating with a degree in biomedical engineering, and she's working as a pharmacy tech now. And the knowledge that she has about medications is tremendous. And so if I have a question, I'll ask her or I ask my doctor. But I don't want to take my information from a 60-second commercial I hear on TV or by somebody that's just pontificating on a social media post. I think maybe we should start addressing whether or not we should be advertising drugs on TV and in media.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, it is amazing. I mean, I'm listening to podcasts all the time like you, and I am like, oh my gosh, and the ads in between are all about GLP-1s. And, I do think that the marketing around them has just been so massive. And so people in my field who specialize in eating disorders, that's where we're getting so anxious, because we're like, hold on, where is the caution here? There are so many unanswered questions, especially in kids. I mean, this is a time where children are supposed to be gaining weight and their brains are developing and their bones are developing. And so to be giving them a medication, we have no data about what happens when you are weight suppressed from a medication at this time in your life. Like, that's really, really scary. And yet it's like, yeah, the advertising is everywhere.
Yeah. Boy, I'm glad my kids are adults.
Yeah.
My understanding of the GLP-1s and I know people who are very, very overweight, by hundreds of pounds. And gee, if this is the only way you can get to health, super. But I know there are kids out there who are, hundreds of pounds over what is healthy for them, but they're not that many, are there?
No. And, I will say, so much of weight. So when we look at weight curves for young people, people generally have a natural healthy weight curve that they were just born on, right? Mm-hmm. Like not everyone's supposed to be at the 50th percentile. That is not where people are supposed to be. Like some people are just born at the 95th percentile and that's where their body is supposed to be. As a pediatrician, what gets concerning are when people cross percentiles. So, you've always been at the 60th and suddenly you're at the 90th, or you've always been at the 90th and now you're at the 40th. So it's when you're crossing percentiles is when we need to investigate more. Mm-hmm. When I see young people who have their weight curve has significantly increased, generally there's a lot more going on to the story, and food is really not a big part of it. It's really the their often the mental health or the system that they're living in, and they need really thoughtful, sustaining support, not to be just given a drug. Mm-hmm. But the other thing I just do feel like I need to say is that and I say this in the beginning of the book, like I was born in a smaller body and I have unearned thin privilege, and so do my kids. So I don't know what it is like to navigate the world in a larger body. And, weight discrimination is still like the only socially acceptable form of discrimination. I see it all over the place, and we're not calling it out. Our kids aren't learning about it in school the way they are learning about other forms of discrimination. And so I don't know what it's like to have to navigate this world. And so I have been trying to appreciate the nuance of these medicines. Like maybe there is a role depending on the story, depending on the circumstance, depending on the team that's going to be around and supporting this person and this young family. So I'm just really trying to open my ears to the nuance and ask for more research on this, because we just don't know how to really support young people who've gained significant weight.
Dr. Lon, I have to tell you, I'm so happy that you said that. Because I think one of the reasons, going back to what we talked about in the beginning of our conversation, people being intimidated by doctors, is I think there's a lot of people in the medical profession and in other areas that they don't say what you said, which is, I want to ask more questions, implying that I don't have all the answers. And I've encountered lots of doctors in the world who, when you ask a question, they get offended. And I'll tell you a story after we finish of an experience I had. And they don't have the humility to sit back and say, you know what? Maybe we can take another way. You're not comfortable with this approach. I'm open to doing something else. Let's ask some more questions.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a story, Jed, is that my first day of medical school, the dean of our medical school said to us, I want you to know that 50% of what you're going to learn in these 4 years of medical school will later be disproven. And the dilemma is we don't know which 50% of it that is. And I am so glad he said that, because to your point, it just was like, right, we don't know. Things change. We have to learn more. And to be honest, one of the main reasons I wrote this book was I saw a patient who came to me for her eating disorder. The doctor had told her, you need to lose weight. And she then left the office, started restricting, started throwing up, and developed an eating disorder and saw me. And I talked to this young person and I said, I'm sorry, that's how the doctor said it. This is how we were taught in medical school. This is what we know now. And I said, that's not okay. The way that was said to you was not okay. And the patient, who was an amazing teenager, went back to her pediatrician. Her mom had taken her with the brother and said to the pediatrician, so the way you said it wasn't okay. And she says this to the doctor. And so she comes and tells me at my follow-up visit with this young person, she says, guess what? I went up to the doctor and I explained to her how you said it was not okay. And she said, and the doctor got defensive. Mm-hmm. And doubled down on her points rather than saying, I'm sorry that is the harm it caused. So I have a whole chapter about repair because, we're all doing our best here. Parents, schools, doctors, and I think it's just the power of naming, I screwed up and I'm learning with you and I'm sorry, and is so powerful. It's so healing. We don't have to be perfect, but we can do better, and be kind of committed to learning and doing better.
One of the things that I learned as a parent was the power of saying, I don't know. I'm sorry. You tell me what I did wrong. Those are the kind of things that really humanize you to your kids, and I think it also builds more trust with your kids.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. And our kids are smart. They know it anyway. So it's like, why can't we just admit we don't know? Yeah. I totally agree. I actually have scripts for parents about like how to say I'm sorry, and for doctors and for schools, because it's hard. It's hard to say you're sorry and admit you're wrong. And especially I would say for doctors who are like really worried about like liability. And yeah, there's such a power, and there's so much healing in doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you're talking about modeling. We've talked about how important it is. LeVar Burton was on the show when we first launched 7 or 8 years ago, and I asked him, I said, where did your passion for literacy come from? And he said, my mom. I'd see my mom reading a newspaper, reading a magazine, reading a novel every night. And that's how and the same with us, I guess, if we want to help our kids develop health, as you said, they have to see us at it, and we don't have to be perfect at it. Lord knows I'm not, but if they see us working on it, I think they'll trust us more, to help them get it.
Absolutely. And I'll say to parents, you don't have to love your body, but just to treat it with respect and to speak to yourself kindly is incredibly an important message to model to your kid.
Yeah. Tell us, where can we go to find out more about freeing children and young adults from shame, scales, and stigma, and also find out more about you? Because I think some people are going to want to reach out to you.
Well, in terms of the book, it is coming out in March, so it's hot off the press now, but it is, it's being published by Routledge, so you can go to Routledge website or to Amazon or hopefully wherever you get your books. Hopefully it'll be in your local bookstore. And there is a link to it on my website, and my website is Aspen Grove, AspenGrove, AYAM, like adolescent young adult medicine.com, or you can just look up my name, Lauren Hartman, MD. And 2 months ago, after a lot of kicking and screaming, I finally joined Instagram. Essentially leading up to the book and just with all the diet culture. So Lauren Hartman, MD is the Instagram.
Yeah. And any idea, any prescription for how much time our kids should be on social media?
Well, this is a hot question at the end.
I hear zero trying to jump out of your mouth.
I would say as late as we can hold off on social media, really important. And talking to them about social media. I think about it like sex, because I'm an adolescent medicine doctor, where I think when we say, don't do it, that's not necessarily a helpful message, but they're going to. And so because the majority of kids are on social media. So I think it's more how to navigate it safely, how to have limits on it, how to not have it in the room in the evening, giving yourselves breaks, not having it around mealtime. I think those sorts of limits are much more realistic.
Yeah. We've had a really eye-opening time speaking to the author of Freeing Children and Young Adults from Shame, Scales, and Stigma. Our guest has been Dr. Lauren Hartman. Dr. Lauren, you're welcome to come back anytime.
I would love to come back anytime, and maybe we could have a Dunkin' Donuts together.
All right. You got it. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This episode of Reading with Your Kids is sponsored by Ramble Office. Before I tell you about Ramble Office, let me tell you about what travel used to look like for me. When I take the Reading with Your Kids studio on the road, it was like a lot. I had one box for the mixer, another case for microphones, a satchel for my laptop, cables everywhere. And I always felt like I was forgetting something. That's why Ramble Office really clicked with me. Rambo takes everything I used to juggle, tech gear, personal stuff, and puts it into one smart, great-looking unit that's designed to be a mobile office, not just luggage. Everything has a place. Everything stays protected. And when you get to where you're going, you're ready to work. Instead of digging through bags or repacking your life every time you move, Ramble keeps your setup organized and ready to deploy. Travel days stop being chaos and start being productive. It's sleek, modern, built for people whose work doesn't stop just because they're on the move. And if your job follows you, whether that's podcasting, teaching, consulting, or creating, Ramble is worth a look. Go to rambleofficeanywhere.com, all one word, rambleofficeanywhere.com. Use the promo code READ, R-E-A-D, and receive 5% off any product. It's exclusive for Reading with Your Kids listeners. Check it out today, rambleofficeanywhere.com, promo code READ. Hey, my friends, I have a super idea you are going to love. How about this weekend, turn your backyard cookout into a storybook celebration. Fire up the grill, crack open a few of your favorite picture books, and serve up Big Fork Brand's legendary bacon sausage. Made with nitrate-free bacon and premium pork, it's juicy, smoky, and unforgettable. Top it off with Big Fork's spicy Chicago fire sauce, and you've got a meal as bold as the characters in your favorite bedtime tale. Get 20% off your order using the promo code READ at bigforkbrands.com. That's bigforkbrands.com. Promo code READ to get 20% off, because nothing brings families together like great food, great books, and a whole lot of flavor. Big Fork Brands. Read, grill, repeat. Are you looking for a creative way to bond with your kids? Let me tell you all about Drawing with Your Kids, the ultimate destination for artistic adventures. Join us as we dive into the wonderful world of children's books with renowned illustrators guiding you step by step. From beloved characters to whimsical scenes, unleash your imagination and create cherished memories together. Whether you're a seasoned artist or just picking up a pencil, there's something for everyone at Drawing with Your Kids. Please visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com, and click on the Drawing with Your Kids link at the top of the page and let the creativity flow. Drawing with Your Kids, where every stroke brings stories to life. Join us right now from Austin in the great state of Texas. Our guest is here today to celebrate. Her picture book is called Joshua's Days of the Week. Please welcome Bate Elandiar.
Hey. Thanks.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Excellent. Happy to have you on the show. Tell us all about Joshua. Who is this character that we're going to be meeting?
Okay, so Joshua is my 4-year-old, but I wrote him as a 5-year-old, and this is my youngest kid, and I did have a bit of a struggle teaching him certain things, and I had to find a way to get him to understand. He's currently in ECSE, which is like special ed, and he was born a little early, and after a few years, first year, second year, we noticed it was a bit slow when it came to talking and communicating, and I found that I needed a way to communicate, and I just couldn't find the right books to help him. So that's why I started the series, which was, first of all, started off with I am Joshua. That was because he answered every question, I am Joshua. If you asked him, how old are you? I'm Joshua. What's your name? I'm Joshua. Once he learned his name, that was it. So started the first book to kind of help him to be able to explain to like the first 7 questions. And someone meets you, how are you? What's your name? And I couldn't find any resources to kind of help him introduce himself to the world. Uh-huh. So that's how that series started, and then moved on to the days of the week, which are just like the very basic concepts to help, especially children who have a harder time just grasping the concepts, mm-hmm. like right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So. You know, I really love it when I meet a mom who faced a challenge with her kid and decided, well, the tools that I need aren't around, so I'm going to make them.
Frozen.
We're back.
Okay.
There we go. All right. So I was saying, I really love when I meet a mom who is frustrated because the tools that her kids need aren't available to her, so she creates them herself.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the trigger point was because I thought by him going to school and having all the proper education, I would take him to the library, pick out all these books that, of course he's just going to get better, and, I got one of his tests back. I got his first test back and he scored 0 in vocabulary. And I didn't think it was possible. Like, how do you get 0 in pre-K in vocabulary? And he had a few words, but then I was like, okay, you know what? Like, this is, I thought, they're trained for this, but okay, I have to do more. And then reading came to mind. And I used to read to him, but I figured I needed to break it down to a level that he would be able to understand. And I figured there are many people out there who maybe their kids don't really fall in the bracket where, hey, speak to them and they get it, where we need to break things down a little bit more to kind of get them to understand. And especially because it had him in it, he could identify himself, and then it would be like, oh, Joshua, and then he could actually start responding based on, the repetition over and over of the exact same things. So, yeah.
Yeah. If I were just driving in my car and I was listening to this episode of the podcast and I heard that a 4-year-old got a 0 on a vocabulary test, I'd be yelling out the window, what the heck are 4-year-olds doing taking vocabulary? What do you mean giving a kid a 0?
Yeah. Yes, and the teacher said, and she had to write to explain, she said, okay, so this is a time test, and it's a district test, they time it, and she said, okay, because he needs a little bit more time to process, he wasn't able to answer all the questions. And I'm like, well, that's why he's in this kind of care, because it's taking him a longer time to process. So and she's like, okay, so she did a test that was not timed, and then he didn't have a 0 in that one, but she said for the district's sake, she has to time him, and that's the official score, so.
All right, I'm going to hold my tongue, because I understand doing evaluations and looking at kids and figuring out what it is that they need. But giving a kid a standardized test at 4 years of age, mind blown. Mind blown. Do we know why Joshua is experiencing these delays? Is he on the autism spectrum, or is he just a kid who's taking his time learning?
So, he was actually born a bit early, and, we actually had him evaluated, and they said he had a receptive and expressive speech delay. So, it wasn't autism, but based on the evaluation that we had, which is like a 2-hour test with the psychologist and like a speech therapist and the plate. There's a whole bunch of people that evaluating, and they said, it's mostly a severe receptive and expressive speech delay, and he's actually gotten a lot better once I started reading to him.
Yeah.
And over and over and over, because he became, even though it seemed like it was repetition, at some point the repetition actually started making sense.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
A few weeks ago, he was actually, I asked him, okay, how old are you? And he was like, 4. I was like, what? Say that again? He's like, I'm 4, mommy. And it's taken us a long time to get there, but then, and he opened the book first of all, and he's like, oh, I'm 4. And that was it.
That's awesome. I was amazed. There was, I did a little bit of work with preschool kids, and I remember being baffled because there was this kid who was able to count. And I'd say, how many pennies are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that means there are how many pennies? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they couldn't 6. They had to count it out. And the teacher was telling, well, at some point there's going to be a switch and it's going to throw, and the connections are going to be there. Yeah. It sounds like, from what you're telling me, although I don't know anything, I'm not an expert, that your Joshua's switches are being switched right now. Yes. And I have a feeling there's going to be tremendous growth, because his mom went out and found and created the tools that he needed.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I learned in the process, and because I had joined her in a Facebook group book with other parents who had kids with speech delays, and it was something that I was also trying to propose because I felt like the fact that he could identify himself made a huge difference. And I think that if one of the things, the message that I like to pass across is, and I'm definitely open to help people do that, if they feel like they're trying to get across a message, the aspect of being able to personalize a message to kids could be a good way to get them to actually make the connections, especially using things they like. Because I had him wearing a yellow t-shirt, which is a t-shirt he actually has and likes. I put like his siblings in the books, which is something that he could actually relate to. So one of the things also that I'm actually proposing to people, like, hey, if you see this, and if not for just learning the days of the week, and you feel like, hey, you know what, I would like to have a personalized book of my child with something that they are actually struggling to learn, given that reading is something that actually does help them to create those connections. We can help you build those kind of tools to help your children get to the point where they can make those connections, especially with the familiarity, because they can see themselves in it.
I love that. I love that. One of the things we celebrate here on the podcast is that when you're reading to your kid every night, 15, 20 minutes a night, by the time they were 4 or 5, they will have heard over 1 million more words than their peers who aren't read to. So it's obvious that Joshua is living proof of that and the benefits of reading with your kids every night.
Yes, and I would have to admit that it's not something that I didn't start off as early. For me, okay, I'm from Cameroon, I'm African, so culturally, it's not something that it's done. Because when I came to the US and I saw that it was a thing that is done reading to kids every night, it was just like, hey, good night, and then, you know, and I had something I had to learn, and I actually had to build the habit, even if I didn't want to. And I had to create ways, because like the kids are upstairs, I'm downstairs. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to go upstairs. So I had to figure out, okay, you know what? I'm going to keep some books by my bed. So if I don't feel like going upstairs, at least there's something, like putting books in strategic places. So just to say that there's something I had to learn the process of trying to be consistent. And there's still some days where I may slip off or ask his sisters to help, but just also building that consistency. So it's not like it's something I had always done. With his sisters, I did it on and off, but with him, I've had to learn that I needed to be more consistent. And
Yeah. I had the opportunity to spend a week with a group of authors and publishers from various countries in Africa at the International Children's Book Festival. And one of the things that many of them said to me is, despite the fact that African cultures have this great tradition of oral storytelling, they don't have the tradition of reading with kids.
Absolutely.
So it's what I really have to admire the fact that you're coming on here on this podcast and you're saying, you know, I didn't read with my kids. I came from this culture. It wasn't, and now I realize it's a lot of folks, when they see something that, oh, I could have done this differently. They don't like to own it, especially publicly. They like to sit there and go, no, I was perfect all the time. It's somebody else's fault. But it's obvious that you love Joshua a whole lot, and you're sitting there going, no, I realized I could have done this differently, and I'm working with him now, and he's really making progress. And I think that's a big part of parenting, is being able to step back and take a look and see, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? And how can I be better?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
something we all need to do.
Absolutely. And especially because my first 2 girls, I mean, they started walking at 8, 9 months, and they picked up on things so quick that I didn't really, they were arguing with me by the time they were 2. So I didn't really have to, I guess maybe if I did more, it could have been better, but I did not really feel the need to. And then coming to a point where it's like, okay, wait a minute, I haven't built the right habits that I needed to actually, to help. And now that I saw a gap, I was like, okay, well, I have to get myself to the point where, I have to put in the work to build the right habits, to be able to switch, to adapt to this child who is different from his siblings, so.
Yeah. Are you planning on writing more books in the Joshua series?
Absolutely. So, Counting is the next one that we're working on. I'm also trying to, because now that I'm trying to work with him on reading, we're getting there, but definitely counting, because right now he counts up to 20, and I think that there are many children who count. I mean, I know there are many counting books, but then what the counting books I see, okay, hey, orange, apple, like they're quite abstract things. So trying to find a way to be able to teach him to count within the context of things that are familiar. I mean, I know oranges and apples are familiar, but also within a story. So that's something else that I'm currently working on. So
yeah. How does Joshua feel about him being the star of these books?
I mean, every time he sees the book, he just screams, Joshua, it's Joshua, and he's very excited. At first, he wasn't that excited, but then after a while, it's, it gets to the point where he requests to be read to. So it's not just like, okay, hey, we have to read now. It's something that has become part and parcel of his own routine. So it's definitely something that I know he appreciates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Hey, we should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about Joshua's Days of the Week and the other books that are coming from your imagination.
Okay, so Joshua Days of the Week, you could get it on Amazon, Amazon.com, all the different Amazons. And it's also on our website, which is Legends Rise Ventures, which is pretty much just be able to get the legends to be born. Those who people see as, okay, hey, you know what, you're just ordinary, and to stir up the gifts within our children to make them rise to become legends, because it's after people overcame something that they always call them legends. But while they were going through it, they were not the legends. So Legends Rise Ventures is where we could purchase the books. And I mean, on social media, I'm Bate. You could find me if you need to. But yeah, that's how we could find, and we could continue the story. Anybody is also interested in developing personalized stories for your kids, would definitely love to help. Yeah.
That's really wonderful. And I love that idea that Joshua is on his way to becoming a legend.
Yes.
What a great thing to teach our kids, especially those kids that are facing adversity. It's like, yes, you're going to get through this. I'm going to be there to help you. And when we get to the other side, you're going to be a legend.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that. We've had a great time speaking to the author of Joshua's Days of the Week. Our guest has been Bate Elandior. Hey, Bate, thanks so much for being with us.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids, and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. Hey, if this episode made you smile and gave you something to think about, please consider sharing a link to the show with someone you love. Leave a 5-star review, and of course, we would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the show wherever you find your favorite shows. If you'd like to connect with us on social media, that would make us real happy too. Facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, @readingwithyourkids on Instagram, and @JedleyMagic on X. Our YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids. And of course, our website, readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our wonderful guest, Dr. Lauren Hartman. Please be sure to check out Freeing Children and Young Adults from Shame, Scales, and Stigma. Also want to thank Bate Elandior. Please be sure to check out Joshua's Days of the Week. Want to thank our sponsors, of course. If you use our promo code READ, R-E-A-D, you will get a great discount, and we may earn a small commission, and that would be so helpful to us. I want to thank my team, Chris Doherty, Joanne Lynn, Jackson Sotalaro. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support and love she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place. And you do that every single time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.
Wake up in the morning, feel the sunshine dance. Every little face you meet, don't let it pass by chance. When you wake up in the morning, look around and see. Every little face you meet is part of your story. You don't need superpowers, you don't need a trick. Just a happy little grin can make the world feel big. It's simple, it's easy, it's right from the heart. A tiny little moment can be a friend. a friend who's feeling lonely, to someone feeling blue. You never know the magic that your smile can do. It travels like kindness, it spreads like cheer. From one happy face to another right here. Your smile is a gift, give it away. It's love in a tiny, wonderful way. Your smile is a gift, shine so bright, turning cloudy days into beams of light. Just one smile from you can lift someone to. Your smile is the gift, and the gift is you. No wrapping paper, no big bow, but it's the best gift I know. Your smile is a gift, give it away. Share a little love every single day. Your smile is a gift, strong and true. Oh yeah, the world feels better when it sees you. Your smile is a gift, give it away. It's love in a tiny, wonderful way. Your smile is a gift, shine so bright, turning cloudy days into beams of light. Just one smile from you can lift someone to. Your smile is a gift, and the gift is you. Your smile is a gift, yes, it's true. Spread the joy because the gift is